Good evening, afternoon, night, morning. Whenever you find a way to watch or listen to this podcast, this is me, Omar Sean Bora, the Burger Popper. But I guess today you can call me the Taco Popper. For I guess we'll get into it. Well, I'll be called the Taco Popper today, but it's late on a Saturday night. There's nothing better to do for a young, disenfranchised American man than just eat some Taco Bell and watch college football alone. So today Taco Bell, they released their Cheez-It menu on Thursday, June 6th. I don't know if I'm holding this the right way, right? You see Taco Bell Cheez-It, right? The Cheez-It box. So I got both the items. I got the big Cheez-It tostada and I got the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap, right? So what we're gonna do while we're eating these is I am going to rank every single Cheez-It bowl that has happened. Um, whether it's the one in Arizona that happened for 2 years. Yeah, the 2 years of the Cheez-It Bowl in Arizona, and the various Cheez-It Bowls that happened over the past couple years in Orlando. And I'm limiting it to that because it would be completely exhausting for me to rank every single all 70 plus. I think they're almost at 80, excuse me, all 70 plus to 80 citrus bowls that have ever happened just because they're sponsored by Cheez It now. So we're just going to go through the list and rank every single Cheez It bowl that has occurred, which I'm aware that there are only six. Let's see. Yeah, six Cheez It bowls. So without further ado, let's make this happen. Let's talk about it. So I mean, the Citrus Bowl is one of my favorite bowls that there is. I think it's underrated. I mean, it's got a rich history of hosting first small college teams. If you look at the schools that appeared in the Citrus Bowl before the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, I should say for the purpose of this video, bunch of small schools, a lot of great small schools. In fact, Morgan State, the great HBCU program, played in the Citrus Bowl one year, or when it was called the Tangerine Bowl. The Coast Guard Academy played in the Tangerine Bowl, which is now the Citrus Bowl. The bowl didn't really take its current form until like the 70s with major college programs, but it's had its spot on New Year's Day, and then now it's on New Year's Eve because of the playoff where it looks like it's going to stay for a long time, but it's always been a great way to kick off New Year's Day, kick off the new year before just a great slate of college football before the Rose Bowl, before the Sugar Bowl, before you name it. So, for context, this year's Citrus Bowl is sponsored by Cheez It, and I have the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl box from the 2023 game on January 2nd, 2023, which you'll find out where this game's ranked. It's not ranked high. I won this, by the way. I won this at a giveaway on Instagram from Cheez-It, so you can tell I'm a great Cheez-It ambassador. So I guess with the context, geez, I didn't even rehearse this. It's 11 o'clock at night on Saturday at El Paso, in El Paso. But for context, so from 2018 to 2019, the now guaranteed rate bowl out in Phoenix at Chase Ballpark is in Phoenix. It was sponsored by Cheez It. It was the Cheez It Bowl, and then that sponsorship shifted to what's now the Pop Tarts Bowl, but in Orlando. And from that bowl was the Cheez It Bowl from 2020 all the way up to 2022. And then once Pop Tarts sponsored that bowl, Cheez It sponsored the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day, which it's been a sponsorship for the past 2 years and it's entering a third year this year. So confusing, yes. But for those keeping track at home, Guaranteed Rate Bowl, the bowl's a Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix. That was the Cheez It Bowl from 2018 to 2019. And then the Cheez It Bowl it did move to Orlando, but Cheez It switched partnerships to Orlando to sponsor what is now the Pop Tarts Bowl, the bowl between the Big 12 and the ACC. And then Cheez It sponsored the Citrus Bowl in 2022, which they now sponsor today. So is everyone clear? Probably not. So beginning with my ranking of every single Cheez It Bowl of all time, I'm gonna start with the worst Cheez It Bowl of all time being this recent year's Cheez-It Citrus Bowl between Iowa and Tennessee, where Iowa lost 35 to nothing. There really isn't much I have to say about this. I probably should take a bite. So, I mean, here's what it looks like in the box, right? You know, you got your Cheez-It there. The display isn't as great, but you're not here for the display. It all gets jumbled up in your tummy and everything, right? So, you know, gonna take a bite here before talking about the 2023 Cheez-It Bowl or 2024, I should say. See, it's got to eat like a regular tostada, like a tortilla chip, right? Mm. I feel like a mukbanger doing this. Feels weird. But the 2023 Citrus Bowl, it was kind of tough deciding whether to rank the 2023 Citrus Bowl. I'm sorry, the 2024 Citrus Bowl, the 2023 Citrus Bowl with the bottom spot. But I had to go to the 2024 Citrus Bowl, and I'll tell you why. Because honestly, there's just nothing really to savor it, honestly. Because something that the 2023 Citrus Bowl had going for it was the fact that Purdue was playing. I'm sorry, I got food in my mouth doing this, but Purdue was playing in a New Year's Bowl for I think it was like either the second time since Drew Brees was quarterback or the first time since Drew Brees was quarterbacking. So huge deal for that program. I know it's a Citrus Bowl. I know a lot of people think bowls don't matter anymore, but I mean like it was a big deal for Purdue. Iowa had been in the Citrus Bowl 2 years before, and they just kind of laid an egg. Like they really laid an egg. I know Purdue laid an egg in the 2023 Citrus Bowl against LSU, but Iowa they've been to so many New Year's Bowls. They, I mean, they've been to the Citrus Bowl 2 years earlier, playing against Will Levis in Kentucky in the 2022 Citrus Bowl. And I mean, there really wasn't anything great about this game. I mean, Tennessee jumped out to a 14-0 lead, wasn't particular high scoring. Deacon Hill had only 56 passing yards. I mean, at least the country got to see Nico Iamaleava play, but that's really the only great thing about this game. I mean, I really don't have much to say about it. It wasn't really that memorable, honestly. So that's why the 2024 Citrus Bowl takes the bottom spot in my rankings. And of course, as was implied, the 2023 Citrus Bowl was my second to last rank. So if we're doing the counting, so we got 2023. So we have about six Citrus Bowls to rank, or six Cheez-It Bowls to rank. I do my math right. Probably not doing my math right. Sorry, we got seven Citrus Bowls. So at the number seven spot, the number seven, the bottom spot is 2024 Citrus Bowl between Tennessee and Iowa, where Tennessee won 35-0. Next up is the 2023 Citrus Bowl, right? Bring back the box between LSU and Purdue. And like I said earlier, something my coach said in high school that really has resonated with me for a lot of my life is it's not about the journey, or it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that's what this case was for Purdue. And that's why I'm ranking them at number 6 out of 7 in my all-time Cheez-It rankings, which I should probably take another bite of this tostada, this delicious tostada. Mm. I have sour cream in my mouth. This whole premise is just so goofy. It's just so goofy, but I'll have my mouth full of Cheez-It. I mean, Purdue, the Big Ten West, make all the jokes you want, but I mean, the stories that came out of the Big Ten West were really amazing, for being honest. Like Purdue winning the Big Ten West in 2022, having a chance to play for their third Rose Bowl since 1967, even though they fell short against Michigan, but end up going to New Year's Day Bowl anyway with an 8-5 record. That's a great season for Purdue. Like at that point, you're playing on New Year's Day, you're playing on ABC. I mean, what happened next is why this game is at number 6 out of 7 for the rankings as LSU won 63-7 in a game played by where there's opt-outs galore. But I think just the journey itself, like I said, New Year's Day bowls, the Citrus Bowl, the ReliaQuest / Outback Bowl, that is familiar territory for Iowa. Iowa fans like do not care. I mean, they do care. I shouldn't say that, but it's not like a landmark season. You go to the Outback Bowl or the ReliaQuest Bowl, it means more to Purdue fans than Iowa fans. And the Citrus Bowl appearance meant more to Purdue fans and Iowa fans. And just the journey itself was a great story. That's all I'm going to say about that. 63-7, LSU beat Purdue. And I mean, what else is there to say about that game? So as we move on in our rankings, I'm gonna take a bite out of the Crunchwrap Supreme, the Tostada Crunchwrap Supreme right here. Looks like a regular Crunchwrap. Like I mean, like the display, like you got your Cheez-It, right? You can probably see the orange crackerness of this. Let me take another bite since I picked it up. Oh, the Crunchwrap, right? Looks like regular Crunchwrap. I mean, of course, the big deal is inside in the middle, right? Take a bite here. Mm. You probably can't even see the cracker. I'll have to like bring it up really gross, which I won't do. But I'm gonna switch my taco. Trying to talk about Cheez-It bowls. But okay. So number five on my list of the best Cheez-It bowls of all time. So I'm gonna rank the 2021 Cheez-It Bowl between Iowa State and Clemson. And I will be honest with you, I really don't remember much about this game. I watched it live. Brock Purdy played in the game. I'm a Niners fan. That's cool seeing your future Super Bowl appearing quarterback play in that game. But other than that, Clemson had a down year. It was cool seeing Clemson not playing a New Year's Six bowl. I guess like I have nothing against Clemson fans, but I always think it's funny when blue bloods like end up playing in bowls like the Cheez-It Bowl, I guess, or now the Pop Tarts Bowl when blue bloods like go from competing for national titles to doing that. So that was kind of interesting, but really Clemson was on a down year. The ACC had a down year as well. I mean, Pitt represented the ACC against Michigan State in the New Year's Six, and that was that. Me and Clemson, this really wasn't a game that advanced the program. For Iowa State, it was cool. It was cool to see Iowa State play against Clemson in a bowl game. Jeez, excuse me, but Iowa State had played in the very same bowl when it was the Camping World Bowl in 2019, 2 years earlier against Notre Dame. So I guess how much did it really advance the Iowa State program? Iowa State was 7-5 that year. 20 to 13. I can't really remember much from that game, except I think Bryce Purdy made a dumb mistake at the end of the game that people like bringing up in memes now. But I really can't remember much from that game. I really can't. So that bowl game is gonna have, or that Cheez Bowl is gonna be number five on my rankings of Cheez It Bowls. Could make sure I'm not losing count because I think there's been seven. So there's been two Citrus Bowls. Yeah, there's been seven. All right, before I go out of my head. So yeah, number five on my list, the 2022 Cheez It Bowl between Iowa State and Clemson. With Clemson winning 20-13. Really don't remember much from that game. I'll be honest with you, I really don't. So I'm gonna progress my rankings. No, probably should finish up with this tostada. See, it's getting a little soggy, right? Got a good bunch of goodness here, right? I feel so weird, unprofessional eating this tostada and talking to myself pretty much and doing this recording. You guys can clown me. You guys on should clown me doing this. But going up, ranking up at number four on my list of all-time great Cheez-It bowls. Number four, I have the infamous Cheese INT bowl. Actually, wait, my losing count? Two, 22, 23. I graduated with a history degree. I am not a math guy, but okay, it is seven. So yeah, number four on my rankings of all-time great Cheez-It bowls. I'm gonna have to go with the infamous Cheese INT Bowl, the 2018 Cheez-It Bowl between TCU and California. And this is my first ranking of the Phoenix iterations of these bowl games, where the game took or had the sponsorship of the bowl that is currently the Guaranteed Rate Bowl out there at Chase Park, out there at Chase Field, I should say, at Chase Field in Phoenix, home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. In this game, aside from the interceptions, there really wasn't that much like great, like I guess to remember from this game aside from the interceptions. And I'd have to check the record for how many combined interceptions they had. You had future San Antonio Brahmas quarterback Chase Garbers going off in that game, throwing picks. But there really wasn't much to remember from this game. And this is kind of like the weird later years of the Gary Patterson regime at TCU where they were underachieving. They came in the game 6-6. California came in at 7-5. Justin Wilcox has done a great job. I'm glad he's still at California, but early there the hype was there with early Justin Wilcox in that tenure. Um, but yeah, so they had six interceptions in the first half. Looking at this, I forgot how many interceptions there were, and there were nine for the entire game. Nine interceptions. So, Chase Garbers went 12 for 19 for 93 yards and three interceptions. Grayson Muhlestein. That's not a name I've not. That's a name I haven't heard in forever. Talk about a great stat line for a winning quarterback. 7 for 20, 27 yards, and four interceptions. That reminds me of the great Cole Kramer game in the 2023 Quick Lane Bowl for Minnesota, where Cole Kramer threw for like 23 yards He completed 8 passes for like 23 yards and still ended up winning a bowl game, which is good for him. Great for him that Grayson Muhlstein and Cole Kramer get to call themselves like bowl champion starting quarterbacks. But there really wasn't much to remember from this game. Yeah, the interceptions are funny. I mean, like, yeah, I really think the Sickos committee was born on that day watching all those interceptions. But like, what is there to remember about that game? I mean, honestly, like it's just two Power Five programs that were very mediocre that year. We're very average. I mean, playing that bowl game. So I just got to make that one number four. So sorry, geez, I'm getting all gassy eating this Swiss sauce. I'm gonna take a bite of the Crunch Wrap now. I don't know if you see that orange line on the bottom. That's a Cheez-It. It feels so weird because I know people are watching me eat. If they watch me listen to this, or if they end up watching this, but which I will not release this on Spotify. Not gonna release this on Spotify. Mm, not good. No, forget it. I'm gonna finish up this tostada too. I'm gonna hit this. But I would love for you to put in the comments below what your favorite bowl game is, what your favorite bowl sponsor is. Have these bowl games gone too far with these bowl gimmicks, taking the attention away from everything that's on the field? I hope you guys can hear me right. I gotta watch this recording before I send it through. But yeah, let me know in the comments because as you guys know, I like to hype myself up as a Kornacki of bowl games and just love talking about bowl games. College football's postseason is unlike any other. I mean, what is there to say about it? It's a system that has long been driven by commerce and tourism. Like what other sports postseason can say that? There really aren't many, but I'm gonna swallow my food. I feel so unprofessional just giggling through this all. But I'm on number three. My number three, my top three might surprise some people if we're being honest. I mean, I'm just gonna say that right now. But my number three Cheez-It Bowl of all time, I'm gonna go with the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl between Miami and Oklahoma State. And I know that may shock some people because this game was 37 to 34, came down to the final minutes, right? Miami tried, or they didn't come back officially, but they had tried to come back from a 21 nothing deficit against Oklahoma State and ended up making it pretty darn close. Spencer Sanders had a great game, 305 yards, four touchdowns. Just was amazing, right? I mean, Miami, they fought that great. But I think the thing that sticks out most in this game, sadly, is De'Aaron King getting injured in that game, which I think was just another landmark event. Sorry, I've been fighting a stuffy nose. But I think it's just another landmark event in justifying players sitting out of bowl games, which while I love bowl games, I can understand a guy seeing like having relevant draft stock, seeing what happened to De'Aaron King in the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl, seeing him blow out his knee and just honestly like not be the same. Um, and if Tyler Van Dyke ends up becoming a franchise quarterback, like we can look and wonder, like just like butterfly effect, like okay, like what happened in the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl, if that doesn't happen, I wonder what happens with Tyler Van Dyke. I mean that's like a discussion for years upon years after this, but it's just interesting. I mean, Derek King hurts his knee in the Cheez It Bowl. Miami doesn't come back. They lose 37-34. High scoring game. Very fun watch. Very fun to watch during the pandemic. Of course, this was a pandemic season. Fun to watch when there is not much else to do. During winter break. Of course, this is my senior year of college, and it was a pretty good game. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty good game. But my personal biases, of course, that's why these rankings are subjective rankings. My personal biases have this one put at number three, and it's just sad that De'Aaron King was never the same. But honestly think De'Aaron King is one of the greatest what ifs in college football history. I really think so because 2018 he had the 50 touchdowns. Um, was phenomenal for Houston. I wonder if he goes on to break the record in 2018 because 2018 didn't really have a clear cut Heisman winner until Black Friday when Kyler Murray went off on West Virginia on Black Friday in front of a national audience and pretty much a game that was a standalone game. There really isn't a clear cut Heisman guy. So if Derek King is able to, who knows, have a Joe Burrow type season before Joe Burrow, because Derek King had 50 touchdowns he was responsible for. through the first 10 weeks of the season, I think. Absolutely insane. I mean, who knows? I don't think a guy from the AAC wins a Heisman, but it definitely could impact 2019, where maybe Dana Holgerson and Houston aren't tanking the season. They aren't going to tank, and they don't, or Derek King doesn't. I don't. I'm not going to place any blame on him. Or Derek King misses most of the 2019 season. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe if he doesn't get hurt in the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl. But I guess, I'm just throwing ideas out, just ranking these bowl games. But number three, I got the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl between Oklahoma State and Miami. So I think it's time for a recap. Let me regroup a bit, take another bite out of this Crunch Wrap Supreme, which doesn't really have much crunch with the cheese. The cheese got soggy. It's not really crunchy. It's kind of hypocritical, but we take a bite. And I still got I still got some tostada left. So I'm just don't judge me. Just enjoy this bite. Okay. All right. So just to recap so far, if you have not been keeping up, ranking the seven Cheez-It Bowls of all time. At number seven, I had the 2024 Cheez-It Bowl between Iowa and Tennessee, where Tennessee won 35 to nothing on New Year's Day. At number six, we had Purdue versus LSU in the 2023 Citrus Bowl. In case you needed a visual aid, right? Visual aid. You had LSU beat Purdue 63 to 7, and I ranked that one not at the bottom because Purdue has hardly had any opportunities to go to New Year's Day bowl games. So that was that. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you agree, but it was a landmark event. At number five on my Cheez It Bowl rankings, I had the 2021 Cheez It Bowl between Iowa State and Clemson, where Clemson won 20 to 13 in the pre-New Year's Day Orlando Bowl game, which I think would help clarify things a bit if I said pre-New Year's Day. At number four, I had the infamous Cheese INT Bowl between TCU and California, where TCU won 10 to 7 in overtime. And there were nine combined interceptions, including six in the first half. So that was number four. Number three, we had the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl between Oklahoma State and Miami, which brings us to number two. And I told you my personal biases would play into this, but I'm ranking the 2019 Cheez-It Bowl as the number two Cheez-It Bowl of all time out of seven between Air Force and Washington State. I'm a huge supporter of of Service Academy football, right? I'm a huge Army fan, been an Army fan my whole life. And I was at this game in person actually because I thought the idea of seeing a Service Academy team play in a major league ballpark, because let's see, my mom lives in Albuquerque, so that's about 6.5 hours from Houston, from Phoenix. Sorry, not Houston, from Phoenix. So my friends and I decided to take a winter road trip, or a Christmas break road trip to Phoenix for the game. Was great. We had plenty of memories to watch Air Force play Washington State. So I went. I cheered on the Air Force Academy for sure. And I know people are gonna hate on me for that, but this was just so great to see. This was, if you wanted to see the option at work, then this was quite the game to see it. Because if you look at the box score, it is a tale of two different schemes. Washington State ran the ball 8 times, and that's all for 15 yards. Two of those times were sacks from Anthony Gordon because the NCAA counts sacks against rushing totals, which is pretty dumb. I mean, we're all just thinking about it, but which means Washington State had only 6 rush attempts the whole game. On the other hand, Air Force went into the house that Randy Johnson built, and ran the ball 69 times for 371 yards. Caden Remsburg was the truth in that game, had over 170 yards. Taven Bordeaux also ran for 100 yards. I mean, DJ Hammond had a rough game passing the ball, 4 for 12, 30 yards, but he was just great distributing the ball in that option, just making reads all day. And he had 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. The thing that sticks out the most that set the tone for this game was Washington State was stopped at the 1 yard line to start the game, or they were stopped at the 1 yard line to start the game, and Air Force ended up taking the ball and driving it right back down, and that set the tone for the game. It really did. But it's just great too because that really is the 2019 season was such an underrated year for Service Academy football because you had Navy. go 11-2. They beat a ranked SMU team within their conference. Only losses were to Notre Dame, who was spectacular that year, as usual. They were 10-2 that year. And then they lost to Memphis, who ended up going to the Cotton Bowl. They lost to Memphis at the Liberty Bowl. So they played in the Liberty Bowl and beat Kansas State. And then Air Force does the same thing. They beat a Power Five team in a bowl game and they finish 11-2 with their only losses to I know they lost to Boise State. I forget who their other loss was to, but they ended up, I mean, oh yeah, their other loss was to Navy. Yeah, so they lost to Navy and they lost to Boise State. Boise State ended up all losing only two games. They went 12-2 and were in contention for the Cotton Bowl that year as well. So this is a great year for Service Academy college football. And this was just another great bow to wrap on top of the season because I mean, man, like just utter domination. Like I really don't know what else there is to say, but just utter domination from the Air Force Academy running the ball. And I mean, there is also a great touchdown at the end of the game that sealed it for Air Force in the 31-21 win, where Caden Remsburg he stretched with all his might. It was like the Michael Penix dive before Michael Penix, where Remsburg stretched and he somehow made it in and gave Air Force a 10-point lead on a fourth down touchdown. So just the whole feel good of of a Service Academy team closing the season with a Power Five win and beating Mike Leach's high-powered offense. Like I feel like the triple option is vindicated the most when they're able to keep an offense like Mike Leach's, featuring Anthony Gordon, who led the country in passing that year, who was phenomenal. He was sensational. People forget about Anthony Gordon because he came right after Gardner Minshew. But he was sensational that year. And somehow Air Force was able to keep him off the field with option offense with just a steady run game, just a steady run game through that option. So that's why it's number two. I mean, it wasn't a one score game. Like, it was not a one score game like the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl. But again, my personal biases and just the backstory around it. Like Air Force ends up going to the Cheez-It Bowl and because the Big Ten was the Big Ten? No, because the Pac-12 was on a or not the Pac-12, the Big 12. That'll do it, Omar. You got it right that time. But the Big 12 was unable to fulfill their bowl tie-in, so the Mountain West has a backup tie-in, and they send Air Force in. They represent the country and the Mountain West very well. So now for my number one cheese bowl of all time. But before I get to number one, let me take another bite of this. This is probably not it's 11 o'clock. I'm probably not gonna finish this, I'll be honest. I gotta go to bed and get ready for church. But let me take one more bite. No, I'll take two more bites. But also leave in the comments below. Who do you think will play in this year's Cheez-It Citrus Bowl? Who do you think? It'll be interesting with the playoff. Like, will we see like a four-loss team, four-loss SEC team play in the Citrus Bowl? Will we see a five-loss Big Ten team play in the Citrus Bowl? This is very interesting. But I wish I could chew faster. This is silly. I wouldn't be surprised if no one watched it, but I wouldn't be surprised if people watch it and just like troll me on this. This is just such a dumb idea just to try to grab viewers, but we're all just having fun here. Love talking about football. I mean, even while I'm eating a Cheez-It taco. Which reminds me, that reminds me, like at the at the Cheez-It Bowl in 2019, my friend and I, Marshall, former co-host Marshall, has been just so busy with working in finance and everything. Uh, we went to the Cheez-It Bowl and we were on a quest to find the Cheez-It food items. And so they had a Cheez-It walking taco, and I think they had a Cheez-It hot dog. And I think I got the Cheez-It hot dog, but we were just so excited just to finally get to the Cheez-It food or the Cheez-It concessions. And the Cheez-It taco was actually really good. It was really delightful. So I want to go to the Citrus Bowl this year. Um, hopefully God is good and allows me to go. So I just hope the concessions are great at the Cheez It Bowl in Orlando. I hope that wasn't just an Arizona thing with the taco. But before I go to number one, let's recap the rankings. Number seven, we have the 2024 Citrus Bowl between Iowa and Tennessee, where Tennessee won 35-0 in Nico Iamaleava's first ever career start. Maybe a star in the making, maybe not, but really nothing great from that game. Deacon Hill, 60 passing yards. Like Iowa's offense sputtered. Game wasn't really ever close. Then after that, we have the 2023 Citrus Bowl, which every time I mention the game, I'm gonna pull out the Cheez It box that I won in an Instagram giveaway. Excuse me, where it's only ranked over Iowa's Citrus Bowl appearance because it was Purdue's like third or fourth New Year's Day bowl game since the 1960s. Just a great achievement for the program. Like you can't take that away from them. It's about the journey, not about the destination sometimes, and that's certainly the case with Purdue eating a crumb. At number five, we got the 2021 Cheez-It Bowl, pre-New Year's Day, between Iowa State and Clemson. Really nothing memorable about that game. It was a one-score game, but I really couldn't tell you much about that game. Clemson had a down year. Iowa State was 7-5, and it also ran in the Big 12, and playing that bowl game for the second time in 3 years, so not so much special about it. Number four, we got the Cheez-Int Bowl between Clemson or between California and TCU in 2018, where there was 9 interceptions thrown in a 10-7 game, and Grayson Muehlstein walked away as a winning quarterback in a bowl game. Good for him. Number three, got the 2020 Citrus Bowl. Sorry, Cheez-It Bowl. We got the 2020 Cheez-It Bowl between Oklahoma State and Miami, where both teams were ranked. One score game, but De'Aaron King gets hurt, sadly, and his career is never the same. Very sad. Wish him all the best. But one score game, pretty memorable. But in that weird pandemic season, everything was weird in the pandemic season. And I think the Cheez-It Bowl also had they had like Cheez-It cardboard cutouts in the stands in the end zone, which I might have to like edit into this video and put on the bottom. But okay. And then number two, we got the 2019 Cheez-It Bowl between our Air Force and Washington State, where Air Force beats Washington State by 10, dominates them on the ground, runs the ball for over 370 yards. Caden Remsburg has over 170 yards, and then DJ Hammond manages option well. Taven Bordeaux has a strong game at fullback. Just all around great performance to cap an 11 win season for Air Force in a strong Mountain West that year. Excuse me. And now at number one, the number one Cheese Bowl of all time is the 2022 Cheese Bowl between Oklahoma and Florida State, where Florida State won 35-32, but not without a fight from the 6-6 Sooners. That game had everything. You have name brands playing in a non-New Year's bowl game, which is always a plus for bowl games like the Cheez-It Bowl. For the Cheez-It slash, I guess now Pop-Tart Bowl, when you can get brand names playing in your bowl game. This was a rematch of a national title game, for goodness sake. It was a rematch of the, I think, 2000 national championship game between Florida State and Oklahoma. So it was a rematch. It was a BCS title game rematch. You have two heavyweights in this game. I mean, it's great for the bowl game. But Oklahoma State was there because they were a brand name, and the Cheez-It Bowl is the Pop Tarts Bowl now. It and slash Cheez Bowl is number three in the bowl selection process for the Big 12. So the Alamo Bowl took Texas, and then the Cheez-It Bowl took sorry, I'm blanking, I'm tired. But the Cheez Bowl took Oklahoma. Because the game did not disappoint. You had fireworks, you had star power at the quarterback position, Dylan Gabriel versus Jordan Travis. Like, what more could you ask for? I mean, Jordan Travis was phenomenal, had over 400 passing yards. Dylan Gabriel was not so bad as well, having over 200 passing yards too. I mean, just great fireworks. You had Oklahoma rush to a 14-3 lead, much to the shock of Florida State, who went 9-3 that year, was ranked 13th. Oklahoma went 6-6, had a down year. I mean, like very shocking results at the beginning until Florida State stormed back. Florida State, there was 10 points scored in the final 3 minutes. Oklahoma tied the game up with about 3 minutes to go against, I mean, with a long touchdown or with a touchdown to tie it up to the Seminoles. And the Seminoles end up driving on the field, kicking a field goal with a minute left to close it. Last minute finish. Everything you want in a bowl game, back and forth. You got brand names. I mean, number one was really not in question. I mean, the huge sickos, the sicko devotees, as much as I don't want to use that term, the people that love to see, I guess, bad things in college football. They would probably rank the Cheese INT Bowl as number one. But I mean, if you want just a great football game or a great bowl game that represents everything great about, bowl season, the 2022 Cheez It Bowl is definitely number one. My personal biases, like they weren't enough for me to pick Air Force Washington State in the 2019 Cheez It Bowl as number one over the 2022 Cheez It Bowl. Which I forgot to even like refer you to this. Congratulations, you're a winner. My certificate for winning the Cheez It Bowl giveaway. But let me know below in the comments, or maybe like have a response video or something. Let me know how you would rank these Cheez It Bowls. And yeah, let's talk about it as always. This is Omar Shambora, the Burger Popper for one night, the Cheez-It Taco Popper. And until next time, everyone, peace, love, soul, God bless, and have a good night.